buy a lollipop and have it delivered to you in your 3D life. It's all very strange and disturbing. Now, speaking of strange and disturbing, this story is everything and nothing, and horrifying and intriguing all at the same time. A Nebraska woman, this is from Politico, charged with helping her daughter have an abortion. Here we go. Nebraska woman charged with helping her daughter. Investigators uncovered, here we go, Facebook, right? Just talked about metaverse flopping. Oh, now Facebook, Meta, is involved in this abortion mess. Investigators uncovered Facebook messages in which a woman and her daughter, discussing medication to induce an abortion. A Nebraska woman has been charged with helping her teenage daughter, 17 years old, end her pregnancy at about 24 weeks after investigators uncovered Facebook messages in which the two discussed using medication to induce an abortion and plans to burn the fetus afterward. Now, a lot of times when you have these late-stage abortions, they do, technically, as I understand it, burn the fetus out of you. And if you were in Nebraska 40 years ago, you couldn't do that. If you had to burn the fetus out of you to have an abortion, you had to go to Kansas City to do it. And they did it with saline solution. So they're sort of at that late stage inducing a stillbirth by burning the baby with saline solution, as I understand it. But that's not what happened in this case. This case, after the abortion, they burned the evidence, which happened to be the fetus. And in the comments for this particular article are just ragingly offensive and obscure. And someone in those comments, not me, mentioned Jewish law. And boy, you should see the nasty comments about people and what they say about the Jews. And I know exactly when they talk about the Jews, what they're saying. They're talking about the Jews, where they pronounce it with 3 syllables, right? That's where these people are coming from, in the Midwest. And it's all misunderstood. They're saying, oh, the Jews can kill the babies. Other people are trying to correct them and say that's not what's going on. It's thousands of years old. No, the Jews. I mean, you just want to step in there and, try to set them right with facts. But I grew up with those people. They're not interested in facts. They're interested in pointing fingers and placing blame. The prosecutor handling the case says it's the first time he has charged anyone for illegally performing an abortion after 20 weeks. A restriction that was passed in the great state of Nebraska, not for everyone, in 2010. In one of the Facebook messages, Jessica Burgess, 41, tells her then 17-year-old daughter that she has obtained abortion pills and gives her instructions on how to take them to end the pregnancy. The daughter, meanwhile, talks about how she can't wait to get the thing out of her body. Okay, not a great moment. And she said, I'll finally be able to wear jeans, she said in one of the messages. Well, that's the maturity level you're talking about with a 17-year-old pregnant woman who probably, for a long time, didn't want to know if she was pregnant or not. And probably by the time she told her mother about it, it was getting late. And then what do you do? In early June, the mother and daughter were only charged with a single felony for removing, concealing, or abandoning a body, and 2 misdemeanors, concealing the death of another person and false reporting. But a month later, after investigators reviewed the private Facebook messages, they added felony abortion. The daughter, who is now 18, is being charged as an adult at the prosecutor's request. When first interviewed, the two told investigators the teen had unexpectedly given birth to a stillborn baby in the shower in the early morning hours of April 22nd. That's the lie that they told. That's their story that they felt they had to say in order to protect what they were doing. They said they put the fetus in a bag, placed it in a box in the back of their van, and later drove several miles north of town where they buried the body with the help of a 22-year-old man. The man, who the Associated Press is not identifying because he's only been charged with a misdemeanor, has pleaded no contest to helping bury the fetus on rural land his parents own north of Norfolk in northeast Nebraska. And yes, it's Norfolk, not Norfolk. Nebraska thing, not for everybody. In court documents, the detective said the fetus showed signs of thermal wounds and that the man told investigators the mother and daughter did burn it. He also wrote that the daughter confirmed in the Facebook exchange with her mother that the two would burn the evidence afterward. Based on medical records, the fetus was more than 23 weeks old, the detective wrote. Burgess later admitted to investigators to buying the abortion pills for the purpose of instigating a miscarriage. Well, that's what they're for. Madison County Attorney Joseph Smith told the Lincoln Journal-Star he's never filed charges like this related to performing an abortion illegally in his 32 years as county prosecutor. Well, probably because he didn't know, and nobody came forward to tell him, because it's none of his business. The group, National Advocates for Pregnant Women, which supports abortion rights, found 1,300 arrests or detentions of women for crimes related to their pregnancy from 2006 to 2020. And here's where it gets really interesting. In addition to its current 20-week abortion ban, Nebraska tried, but failed, to pass a so-called trigger law that would have banned all abortions when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And the reason that didn't go through, they wanted to drop it to 12 weeks. And why didn't that go through? Not because they believe, not because they're honest and straightforward. It didn't go through because of what happened in Kansas, where that very conservative state was not able to pass a constitutional amendment that bans all abortion because the women stood up and said, not in my state. We're not doing that here. And in Nebraska, which is just as red and just as awful, the GOP said, uh-oh, maybe we shouldn't lower it to 12 weeks. Maybe the women get mad. Maybe we just leave it at 20. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Nebraska, not for everybody. So that's cowardly. Either you believe in abortion or you don't. Even though you're a hardliner where all women must complete their pregnancies, or you're not. You don't lick your finger and hold it up to the political wind and say, oh no, look what happened in Kansas. Oh, we can't do that here anymore. Never mind. Nothing here. Nothing here to say, keep walking. And now we have a series of articles. Now, here's another article, this one from Forbes. Facebook gave Nebraska cops a teen's direct messages so they could prosecute her for having an abortion. Now, this is a very interesting part of the story. We just read the straight story and how awful it is. A mother helping her late-term daughter have an abortion, doing it, burying the body, lying to authorities about it. Okay? Not a great situation for anybody involved. But what about Facebook? Now, this is very interesting. What is their role in all of this? Well, it's sort of an important role. After the story's publication, Meta Facebook spokesperson Andy Stone said in a statement on Twitter, hey, nothing in the valid warrants we received from local law enforcement in early June prior to the Supreme Court decision, mentioned abortion. The warrant concerned charges related to a criminal investigation, and court documents indicate that the police at the time were investigating the case of a stillborn baby who was burned and buried, not a decision to have an abortion. Stone added that, hey, Meta was prohibited from sharing information about the search warrant by non-disclosure orders which have since been lifted. A month before Celeste was charged, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook parent Meta, was asked by his own employees how the company will protect them seeking abortions. Zuckerberg replied that efforts to expand encryption across the platform will keep people safe. In May, Meta's VP of HR told employees they were not allowed to discuss abortion at work. The company later announced that it will reimburse employees who find they must travel to a different state to seek an abortion. Still, Facebook Meta has remained largely silent on how it will moderate abortion content in general. However, users recently noticed that Instagram and Facebook posts about acquiring abortion pills were being systematically removed. At the same time, Meta continued to earn revenue from anti-abortion advertisements containing dangerous misinformation. An investigation by the markup discovered that Facebook was collecting data from users interacting with abortion services websites and subsequently made that information available to anti-abortion groups. In response to pressure from employees, the Google announced it would delete location data of users who had used the platform to look up abortion services. All tech giants have been pressed on whether and to what extent they may cooperate in investigations that seek to punish women for having an abortion. In June, Meta told the Washington Post that the company carefully scrutinizes all government requests for user information and often pushes back, including in court. And finally, from the Nebraska Examiner, which is a wonderful independent newspaper, online newspaper in Nebraska, which is great because they don't have to compete with the Omaha Weird Herald or the Lincoln Journal-Star, which are really now the same newspaper. One is based in Lincoln, the other is based in Omaha, but they're traditional. They're online, but they really like you to buy a paper subscription. Well, Flatwater Press, Nebraska Examiner, all virtual, online. Excellent writers. They don't have to worry about delivery, newspaper carriers. They just publish, and they publish very well. So this is their take on the story, which is very detailed and very terrific. But they hold something in this conversation that we have not yet seen. And this is from this morning's newspaper. Facebook data used to prosecute Nebraska mother and daughter after an alleged abortion. And this is what they show us that we have not seen anywhere else before. First, this. Sandy Danick, president of Nebraska Right to Life, applauded police and prosecutors for enforcing the 20-week ban. Nothing, she said, will remedy the tragedy of this event, where a baby has died and a mother is left with the wounds of abortion. Dramatic much? Nebraskans should be appalled by the lack of dignity given to this baby's body. All Nebraskans deserve a respectful burial. We hope the authorities will further investigate the source of the chemical cocktail, the abortion pill, used to kill this preborn child. Now, see, isn't that interesting? Preborn child. Preborn child. How can a child be preborn? Well, it's not its fetus. But that's their game. Labeling, confusing, calling a fetus a baby, calling a fetus a child. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Nebraska is it's very rural. A lot of animals, hogs, pigs, cows, slaughtered every day. Chickens, dead. And what one thing these people understand is sometimes nature's weird and nature is awful and things don't go as you plan. And you have a calf that's stillborn. You have chickens that don't develop. They get removed, killed. Nature's funky. Nature is unpredictable. You don't know which way it's going to go. And human beings are no different. So the disposal of something that comes out of a body that is dead is not really that big a deal, I believe, to most Nebraskans who are farm-oriented. They understand a stillbirth. They understand using chemicals to induce something to keep a cow pregnant, to produce milk, to make their cattle bigger and larger for a bigger profit sale. And when it doesn't work, you bury what's left and you start all over again. And this is where it gets interesting. Here is what the documents say Celeste and her mother wrote to each other on Facebook Messenger in April. The exchange has been edited for brevity. So this is the private conversation that mother and daughter thought they were having on Facebook Messenger, which is really going to be the ultimate lesson of this entire terrible case, which we'll get to in a moment. Jessica, it came today. Celeste, mother, just one or both. Jessica, bought both. Jessica, what I ordered last month. Are we starting it today? We can wait if you want. The one will stop the hormones. Okay. Yeah. The one pill stops the hormones, and then you gotta wait 24 hours to take the other. Okay. Remember, we burned the evidence, which is terrible. They're doing something that they know is not allowed, evidence of guilt. But if this were completely allowed, legal, could be a medical procedure, they wouldn't have to hide any evidence. They wouldn't have to be made pre-guilty as a preborn child. Yep. The Burgishes told the police where the fetus was buried just outside of Norfolk. Authorities said in court documents that they recovered the fetus with thermal injuries, which is just a ridiculous way to say it. So that is the lesson of trying to have a private conversation on Facebook. It doesn't exist. Your online privacy you thought you had? It doesn't exist. And if there was any mistake that was made, the mistake that was made was in that conversation. If not for those Facebook messages, they would not be prosecuted. There would not be evidence of what they call pre-crime. Preborn pre-crime. Facebook Messenger end-to-end by default is not secure. You can make Facebook Messenger encrypted, but as I understand it, you have to do it for each person in your contact page. And there should be a little lock you'll see that will say, okay, this conversation is encrypted on both ends. But even that I wouldn't trust, because when you get a warrant, a subpoena from law enforcement saying we need access to these messages, there's probably some backdoor key somewhere that they're required to keep that can unlock those messages, and they have to turn them over. And so people are very upset with Facebook for playing along with this scheme by the state of Nebraska. Not for everyone. But Facebook is right in saying, well, what can we do? It's a legal request. We can't not comply because we want to support abortion rights. We want to support women. That's not what the subpoena says. That's not what the law allows, is for us to make that kind of decision. Their warrant, their demand was lawful, and so as a lawful company, we have to turn over the information. We can't stonewall them. I understand that. Now, WhatsApp, which is also by Facebook/Meta, is also supposed to be a secure conversation from end-to-end encryption. I wouldn't trust that. Telegram is supposed to be end-to-end encryption. I wouldn't trust that either. iMessage is supposed to be end-to-end encryption. But as I understand it, there's some kind of iCloud backup of your iMessages backed up to the cloud, and it's not secure. It's not encrypted. It exists there to be found, retrieved, if your phone gets lost or stolen. And the encryption keys are set on the phone. So if you happen to lose your phone and you replace your phone and you want to restore your iMessages, that encryption key is gone and dead with the original phone. Now, being from Nebraska, I was raised to have this philosophy. Never write anything, be it in a letter, a note to someone, now extrapolated in email and SMS, that you do not want read in public. And take it to the next level. Don't ever write anything anywhere that you don't want presented in court as a matter of fact against you. It's very sticky, very dangerous. What are you going to do about it? The answer is you don't have any kind of sensitive conversation about anything important. In a text message, in an iMessage, in an email, bulletin board, anywhere. It's not safe, it's not secure, it's not private. Do it in person. Gordon says, flush it down the toilet, like President Trump. And there were people who found out that President Trump was flushing stuff down the toilet, and what did they do? They took pictures of it, and they had to go in and retrieve it, and dry it out, and tape it back together. And that's just to follow the law. I mean, imagine if they were trying to really go after him and prosecute him. It's written down as evidence in his own hand. So there's no sense of privacy online anywhere in your life. If you want to have a private conversation with someone, don't even have it over the phone. It's not secure. And even if you meet someone in person, and if they're trying to get evidence against you, they might be recording you. You have to be very careful with what you say. Sometimes honesty is not always the best policy. Not that you lie, but sometimes you just don't have to say every single thing that's on your mind. Especially when you say things that are hurtful to people or that are illegal, you can't ever take them back. They will always come back and slap you in the face 2 times harder than you originally intended it to be. So the lesson of this messy, awful abortion miscarriage of justice in the great state of Nebraska used to be the good life. Now it's not for everybody. Protect your privacy. You want to be left alone. And if you want to be left alone, you have to keep your mouth shut. You have to keep your fingers to yourself. Stop typing. Don't send messages. You cannot be protected, especially by a company that you don't own, but by a company that owns you.